Hello and welcome to Creature Club, your personal favourite podcast where three Irish gentlemen speak of creatures in the 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. I, Tim Porter, am joined by two of my best mates, Daniel White.
Hello.
And Michael Deasy.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
I'm one of those Irish gentlemen.
Yeah, and we're all gentlemen, every single one of us.
Yeah.
I resent that implication.
We're all gentlemen, Daniel.
Don't want to be a gentleman. I want to be a space pirate.
Yes, so it's been a while since the three of us have been in the same
Yeah.
recording booth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the three of us are in the same one, so. How's it going, guys? Good to be back on the train?
Yeah.
Wagon?
Airway?
I forgot what kind
I don't know what our analogy is.
I think our analogy
Yeah.
is more kind of restaurant because we go by the like starters and dinner town and dessert. So we're like,
Yeah, like some sort of
At a restaurant.
like restaurant train.
It's kind of like going through a Super Mario world.
Yeah.
Themed around food. So you start off in Entreeville, and then you go to Dinner Town, and then you end up in Dessert Utopia, and you got to fight the boss.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can do that though, because Shigeru Miyamoto will find us and beat us up.
He'll jump right out of my big TV and
Yeah.
he'll kick me in the head.
Be like, hey guys, it's me, Shigeru Miyamoto. I'm gonna beat you up now. It's like, oh, shit.
Back in the 90s he used to smoke.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? Because
That's a
now
bit
he's
weird, yeah.
he's like Nintendo's dad, and the idea that he's just like this chain smoking rebel without a cause. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like it.
But
Kind of a
now,
rock
now he's
star.
like a respectable, like middle-aged gentleman.
Well, no, he's in his I think 50s at this stage.
Yeah.
He's but yeah, he's a very well-intentioned man.
Yeah.
Someone who I appreciate a lot. He didn't start out as a game designer, if you guys didn't know
Oh.
that. He started out as a janitor at Nintendo
Whoa.
back when they
Alright.
made card games, and then he had an idea, ended up now he's kind of, well, not running the place, but he's up there.
He sure is.
Yeah. So yeah,
There you
let's make sure he doesn't beat us up then, and use the Mario.
Yeah.
We'll sneakily use the Mario analogy then. It's sneaky.
Sneak it in there.
Because the thing is that all of the characters in all of the games he designs are actually based on him. So anything any of his characters can do, he can also do.
Yeah, he just kind of
So
when he's making
he's
a new
as good
character,
a fighter as Zelda, and as good a jumper as Mario and stuff.
Yeah, like when he makes a new character, he takes an essence of him and he throws
Yeah.
it out there, and then that's how a new character is made. So
It's quite beautiful. I wonder
Yeah.
if he has ever put a Couatl into his world, getting us back on track. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good segue, Tim.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Excellent
I
work.
did it.
Okay,
me go.
so before we become any more derailed, the subject of this episode is the Couatl, which is the winged serpent, familiar to Mesoamerican cultures. It's a large part of their religion.
Oh yeah.
The creature in question is probably based on Quetzalcoatl, which is one of the Mesoamerican gods. They were the god of wind and fertility, and
man. Dude.
I read this on Thursday, but I can't remember.
So
but lots of things
much
basically.
stuff. So
Quetzalcoatl is like the right hand god, basically.
pretty much, but a lot of different Mesoamerican cultures treated him quite differently.
Yes.
Earliest stuff that you can find about him is in Teotihuacan, which is a city that the first image of the winged dragon shows up, and that's 1500 years before the Aztecs, who popularized him as Quetzalcoatl.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yeah, sorry. So it's worth recognizing here that basically, I tried to do some research for this. Turns out, hey guys, Mesoamerica, heckin' complicated.
So complicated.
Lots of different cultures and tribes, complicated somewhat by the fact that obviously there's not a lot of written records from that period aside from the Aztecs, who were actually really good at that.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we have as historical recordings is basically what the Spanish thought of them, and the Spanish were, spoiler alert, very biased.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think we'll just sort of preface a lot of what we'll say here with we are not experts. It seems like it would take a lot of time to become an expert.
Yes.
But I think, Tim, you've done a lot of good work. I did my best. Which is, It's all I can ever do.
And
indeed.
I haven't done a lot, so Tim, you can teach me right now.
Well, sure.
We're literally gonna teach DC right now,
Fantastic.
live on air.
Live on air, and spoiler alert, I'm not a great student. So.
I don't know if any of us are good students. Actually,
So the old Quetzalcoatl chappie, his image might have been a symbol as early as the Olmec Society, which is like the OG Mesoamerican society, like as far back as we know, like 1200 BC is as far back as they go.
keeping it real.
But the only like physical image, like there's actually a statue of him on one of the most impressive buildings in Teotihuacan, which is like a bust almost of practically what the Couatl looks like in the monster manual. And that was like even before the Aztecs. Like he's kind of evolved so broadly around all of the different societies that have popped up and around, which I think is just because everyone is like, oh, winged snake flying dude that just like takes care of everything. That sounds flipping awesome, fucking awesome.
Yeah, you can cuss, man.
Yeah,
go ahead.
You actually can cuss.
Oh, amazing. Flip.
Yes. So one thing that is interesting about Mesoamerica is that it's kind of, I couldn't quite get a grasp of how it happened, but it seems like, broadly speaking, that it had a very sort of, it had they had gods and priests, and but they didn't necessarily have a centralized religion. But even though they were different tribes and peoples and different empires who had, you know, clear national identities, they actually shared a lot of gods. So like Quetzalcoatl had different names in different societies.
Yeah.
So the Mayas called him Kukulkan,
Kukulkan,
which is a little bit like Cuchulainn, which I thought was interesting. Obviously, completely irrelevant because Cuchulainn is an Irish myth, which means the Hound of Cullen.
Yeah.
Compared to like a god of wind, but still, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and
at the very
the
least, just an
Quiche
interesting coincidence.
Mayans called him Cucomats, and like all of the different societies had different like references for him. Like the Aztecs had him as this like the Aztecs actually put him into like a human body. Essentially, they were the first ones that we know of that referred to him or kind of depicted him as a human.
Anthropomorphized him.
Yeah.
As a sort of, they gave him the legs and the hands.
So I think you might have, did you already mention this? So who is he then? Is he a god? Is he kind of a messenger guy, or what is he?
Well, he's like
he's one of the top 3 gods, basically, of Mesoamerican religion.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair thing to say?
Yeah,
Tom?
I'd say so. Like he's the most popular among all of them. Like if you think of like a Mesoamerican god, Quetzalcoatl is like probably the only one that you know. Like I in my research I found out that there was one god that they actually gave an actual like cool origin to, but like no one else got like a fully written story. Like Quetzalcoatl has so many different origins. Like he might be the son of that god, or he might be like this weird, like in one of them, I think it's the Yucatec Mayans, have him as being born from just a random family that like the daughter gave birth to this snake bird, and someone was like, oh, that's Quetzalcoatl, which is an unusual origin because that origin like needs prior knowledge of the creature for them to recognize it as Quetzalcoatl. So it's a bizarre, like there's no central idea about what he is, you know? Like he, in the Nahuatl, he is Quetzalcoatl, but he's the god of learning, wind, and arts and creativity. The Yucatec Mayans have him as Kukulkan, and he was just this like evil god who caused earthquakes. The Quiche Mayans called him Cucomats, and he was a creator god who was in charge of the wind and the rain, and he carried the god Tohil through the sky. So he was a mount, but he was also a creator. And the Lacandan Mayans called him Kukulkan, and he was just this, he actually was the sun's pet, which is an unusual one, because like the sun is typically like number one god. Like everybody thinks that, or everybody thought that like the sun was like the giver of all life, which, you know, technically it was. But Kukulkan was the son of the sun god, essentially.
Okay, cool.
And like it's so broad, and I've loved researching it because like I haven't had a good excuse to dive all the way into one specific god, and I really enjoyed doing this.
I'm no I'm no expert on how like these things work, but it was almost could have been like the image of this guy around a lot, and then different cultures were like, hey, he's probably that, or he's that, or he's that kind of thing.
It was like, how that one looks cool, I want him in my pantheon.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. I know nothing about, how, I don't know, what's the study of that called? I don't know.
Theology?
Yeah, maybe.
Theology would be the term for just religion generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as it's kind of obvious from I think what Tim is saying, there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about.
Like I did my best.
It's a really fascinating subject, but it's so hard to even know where to start.
Yeah. Just looking up Quetzalcoatl just gives you so many different things, because he's used in a lot of different games and stuff as well. Like people will recognize him from certain games, like D&D. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but like it's a cool thing. Like even now, like before I knew any of this stuff, I was pretty inspired even by the design and by the description of him. And he's just a fascinating creature.
Well, I give you some brief D&D history.
Let's do it.
So,
Go for it.
So I'll just go through this quickly. It shows up for the first time, and this is really interesting. It shows up for the first time in a supplement called Eldritch Wizardry, which came out in 1976. For the record, this is supplement number 3.
Right.
So to give that context, supplement number 1 was Greyhawk.
Right.
So this is one of the earliest. Dungeons and Dragons books. This is literally before we used the word advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This is Dungeons and Dragons. Additional rules for fantastic medieval wargames, campaigns playable with paper and pencil and miniature figures. Supplement 3, Eldritch Wizardry by Gygax and Bloom.
You see, when you told us that you were researching Eldritch Wizardry, I didn't know exactly what that meant, but I was like, "You go, Daniel. You research that Eldritch Wizardry."
At this point, you send me stuff like that. I'm like, "Yeah, go on, man. You can do it."
You do that.
I'm probably doing something relevant, or I've just gone mad.
Yeah.
It's either one of the two.
Either way, it'll be entertaining for our guests or for our
Basically, that's not a bad way to look at it.
Yeah.
So the Couatl shows up for the first time in this book, and what's so interesting about this is like I really want to know how it happened.
Okay.
Not because Gary Gygax is a guy living in America, and he loves playing like miniatures war games. There's a like war games, like basically the precursors to things like Warhammer, but like very, very realistic and very much like I'm going to use my crosswomen and I'm going to siege your castle and blah, blah, blah. Which is where a lot of the origin of D&D came about. And like there's even a story that he played so many miniatures war games in his friend's basement that at one stage his wife stormed in because she thought he was having an affair. He wasn't. So like what I'm so interested by is like this is such an early supplement, and like how did like Gary find out about the Couatl? Like was he just familiar with Mesoamerican cultures? Like did he visit parts of Mexico and find these old ruins and kind of research them or whatever? Like because they have nothing to do with his, initially anyway, very traditional Western fantasy, right? Like calling on like Conan the Barbarian and like like old folk tales and referencing medieval warfare and things like that, like which is what a lot of what he does initially. But this and obviously this isn't the only one, but this creature is an example of like, oh, I'm just going to reference something completely different. So I thought that was really interesting. In terms of its powers, it's effectively, I'm going to just bring it up now.
Is there much else in Eldritch Wizardry that is kind of taken from that same origin, or is it just like a mishmash? I haven't read into it at all.
So the Eldritch Wizardry has a couple of interesting things. It introduces the Druid, which you might be familiar with if you've ever heard of that class. It literally goes, the Druid exists now. Congratulations. It introduces the Druid as like, hey, if you want to play like a cleric but be more like nature oriented than oriented towards a god, then you can do this. And it just has some rules. It introduces the Druid. I don't think it introduces another class, but it introduces psionics. It introduces really, really weird and cool rules for psionics that I flippin' loved. So the psionic stuff is interesting because how it works is you actually, after you've built your character, you roll randomly to figure out whether or not you have psionic power. And then you basically have access to this whole new way of customizing your character. But whenever you take psionic power, you like give up other power. So like if a wizard takes psionics, they give up spell slots, for example. Yeah. So there's this kind of cool thing where you become like more like horizontally powerful, but you never become more powerful vertically. You just have like different options.
Yeah. Okay.
So it also did it introduced a lot of kind of unusual things. It introduced the Kirin, which we will cover if we ever get to Xanthar's Guide or Vola's Guide. Right. Vola's Guide to Monsters, I think it's in there.
The Kirin.
The Kirin, yeah. And also it introduces the infamous demons that we are now familiar with, the 7 types of demons that are obviously kind of, like the idea of having type 7 demon, type 6 demon, type 1 demon, and all those having their own terms. And now obviously in this 5th edition's book, we have names for them like Pit Fiend and Balor and blah, blah, blah. I don't know the names that well. It's fine. We haven't gotten to it yet, so I don't need to know anything. Couatl. These winged feathered serpents are rarely found anywhere except in warm, jungle-like regions or flying through the ether. Due to their exceptional intelligence and powers, they are regarded with awe by the inhabitants of their homelands, and they are regarded as divine. Couatl rarely interfere in human affairs. Magic resistance of these creatures is standard. They're able to polymorph themselves, and they use magic as a 5th level magic user, that's a wizard, and or a 7th level cleric. They are psionically aware and have from 9 to 16 clerical abilities with commensurate attack and defense modes. Psychic potential is 60 to 110. That's very good, by the way. I think the highest is 160. They speak several human languages and most serpent and avian languages as well. They are lawful by alignment with neutral behavior tendencies. What's cool there is obviously, if you didn't know, back before we had the modern conveniences of the powerful 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons engine, back in pre-advanced Dungeons & Dragons, creatures were not lawful good or lawful evil. They were merely lawful, chaotic, or neutral.
Okay.
So that's true for all creatures, including the Couatl. It says they have neutral tendencies, which basically means they're not necessarily very good or very evil, but they are very lawful.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so that's everything from the Eldritch Wizardry book, and then from there they just show up in every edition of the game at some stage or another.
Sweet.
Showed up in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual. They were in the Monsters Compendium Volume 1 for 2nd edition. They were in the Monster Manual in 3 and 3.5. They were in the second Monster Manual in 4th edition, and then they were in the Monster Manual we're reading right now, and that's basically it. They have some stuff where they're like, welcome to the weird, and you're just like, nah, I'm good, thanks.
Pass. Skip.
They have their own god called Jazirian, but Jazirian doesn't have anything interesting about them.
Fair enough.
Nothing
Classic.
interesting
Nothing
at all.
No, not really. No, sorry. The Couatls think Jazirian is basically the best world serpent.
Okay.
And so like every other world serpent is like pretending to be a world serpent, and Jazirian is like the best world serpent.
Cool.
Yeah.
And in some settings he guards the only way to get to Celestia.
Okay.
Which is fine, I guess.
Yeah. Then
are you using Celestia? I mean,
sure.
Well, if I want to get to Celestia, I gotta beat him.
Now I know who to talk to.
Now I gotta beat up this immortal snake.
Yeah. Hey, immortal snake.
Let me into your house.
No, get away.
No, stop. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, lore wise, they don't have anything I think necessarily super exciting. At least not in summary.
Yeah.
Okay. Shall we jump real quick into the book here?
Sure.
Yeah.
What they say. Just Cliff Notes version.
Okay. So.
Gross.
Couatls are benevolent serpentine beings of great intellect and insight. Their brilliantly coloured wings and gentle manner speak to their celestial origins.
Indeed. That's consistent with all of the real life stuff. Like, a lot of the times their feathers are like rainbow coloured or like very bright or beautiful just across virtually all of them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If I can actually go to this one first, because this is kind of the one that popped out to me. Is the Truth Teller's one. A
Sure.
Couatl can't lie, but it can withhold information, answer questions vaguely, or allow others to jump to the wrong conclusions if doing so is necessary to protect something, to keep promises, or to hide the secret of its existence.
That's pretty fascinating. So
I like that one. That's kind of it kind of adds to maybe him being like a gatekeeper-y kind of guy, you know?
Yeah. It kind of gives them the, like, you're allowed to tell lies of omission. Like, if you have a list of 3 things that someone has asked for and you give them 2 of them and say you don't know this, or, like, if you have some information and you just withhold, like, the middle bit, that is also very important. Like, you're not telling a lie, but you're not telling the whole truth. Like, I like that kind of stuff.
That involves very smart role playing though from you.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Maybe I don't know if I could do that myself, but maybe someone else could.
But yeah.
And aside from that, there's not really necessarily a lot here. It talks about how, like, they're generally given a task to maintain, so they might be given like a shrine or an artifact to guard or some part of the world that's important. And then it talks about how there's not a lot of them and they can die, which, if you didn't know, that's important. Actually, you won't win a fight against something if you don't think it can die. So thanks, Monster Manual.
Who else was it that we had before that was basically just a gatekeeper? Oh, it was the spectators.
The spectator?
Yeah. So these guys are like the good spectators. They're lawful good when the spectators are lawful neutral. But
and then it talks about their mating rituals, which, I mean, I didn't ask for that.
Yes, you guys can do that on your own time, all right? That's not what we do on Creature Club.
Yeah, that's sort of like, that's not our, milieu. If that's what you're into, that's fine, but... Like,
maybe on Creature Club nights when that comes
Maybe on Creature Club nights we'll go into detail.
Creature Club, like, 18s plus.
Yeah. We're already, like, balancing on 16s with all our cussing.
I did have to give us the explicit tag on iTunes.
Yes, that's true,
but that's just because of the cussing. Like it talks about how the fact that they can. The only thing that I think is interesting is it says the mating ritual of Couatls is beautiful and elaborate dance of magic and light, just like me, which results in a gem-like egg from which a new Couatl hatches. The parent that sought out the mate raises the newborn Couatl and instructs it to its duties so that it can complete whatever tasks the parent leaves unfinished. The only interesting thing in that entire paragraph is that it is a gem-like egg. Because you can do some cool stuff there. You can have your players find a gem, and then it's not a gem. Or you can just be like, the bad guy wants to steal it because it's worth money, which I love. I love shit like that.
Your bad guy is a magpie.
Yeah, and that's a cool thing. Maybe
magpie could be literally a magpie. Like, why not? Just a Kenku who loves shiny stuff.
Yeah. Maybe that's kind of a cool adventure thing where you're trying to get back this gem. You don't know what's going on with it. And then at the end, a Couatl hatches from it. And it's a nice, beautiful little moment. And then maybe he can help you out. Yeah. The newborn Couatl somehow. And gives you a wish. Maybe that can be your prize at the end. Maybe make it a special, even though Couatl can't do wish, but maybe you can make it a special thing. Where...
Well, they can turn into humanoids. So, like, you could just get a quest from this person. And then they're like, ooh, I need this gem. It was in my family for generations.
Yeah.
Oh, no, they can't lie, so they wouldn't say that. Get me this gem. I'll pay you.
It's important to me, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And then when you get it back, then, hey, there you go. You gotta... And then maybe he'll give you something good.
Yeah.
Like $20. I don't know.
Oh, sweet. we trade in gold and silver, but $20 will do.
Yes, thank you so much. I needed that to get the bus home.
Now I can go.
It's a very long commute
I'm going to get a subway and take the bus home. Yes.
Good day adventuring, boys. Cool. Shall we just hop in and we can kind of go back to this if we need to?
I think we're ready to jump in.
All right, dinner time. Meat and potatoes. Meat potatoes. It's tater time. That's a new one.
It's Tater Town too. Is that like the secret level in Dinner Town? If you jump down the right pipe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Couatl. Medium celestial. Lawful good. Interesting. But yeah, just lawful good. That's what it says here. We'll get back to that in a bit. Let's just read through the thing. Armor class 19, natural armor. Hit points 97, speed 30, fly 90. Makes sense. Strength 16, dex 20, con 17, intelligence 18, wisdom 20, charisma 18. So a pretty good stat, to be honest with you. A pretty good one.
It reminds me of the angels we covered way back when.
Very much so.
Sort of just like superhuman stats where everything is above average and most things are better than an adventurer will have.
Yeah.
I think these guys are kind of meant to be like, they're kind of meant to be really angel-like things. You know? I think they're
I think they feel
realm.
a similar milieu. Sorry, I don't know why I keep using that word. I just heard it recently and it just stuck in my head.
That's fine. But yeah, okay. But we'll continue on.
So saving throws.
Constitution +5, Wisdom +7, Charisma +6.
Tasty.
So, yeah, not bad. Damage resistances, Radiant. Makes sense. And also kind of suits with his angelic-like being. Damage immunities, Psychic, Bludgeoning, Piercing, and Slashing from non-magical weapons. Cool. So kind of like a, I don't know, Ghost. I don't know. I'll cut that one out.
I didn't expect that.
He's like a ghost.
Oh my god!
Oh shit! He's haunted.
Oh no! I'm scared now.
Senses: True Sight 120 feet. Passive Perception 15. That's cool. True Sight's kind of a cool thing to have.
Yeah.
Languages: all of them.
And
telepathy 120 feet. So did an angel have all languages as well? Did angels?
Yeah, they did.
So this is it's very similar to the angels. So yeah, kind of use them like him. Yeah, cool. Challenge rating 4. So
not
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah. What's interesting there is the I love when it says languages all. I wish it would say languages yes.
I think challenge rating 4 is a good kind of jumping on point, because like if you want this to be like a relatively celestial run game, introducing the Celestials with a Couatl in the early game is a nice little way to do it. You know, like
yeah, I think you are right. My only criticism is that will be what we'll run into now when we talk about their innate spellcasting. Which is innate spellcasting. This Couatl has a spellcasting ability. Their spellcasting ability is charisma, which is interesting because their wisdom is actually higher. So the spell save DC is 14. It can innately cast the following spells requiring only verbal components, so not no components, and that's important. That'll mean that you'll hear it if it starts yelling at you magics. At will, it can cast Detect Evil and Good. That's handy. Detect Magic, also handy. Detect Thoughts, very handy. 3 times a day, it can cast, wow, good list here, Bless, Create Food and Water, Cure Wounds, Lesser Restoration, Protection from Poison, Sanctuary, and Shield. Once a day, it can either cast Dream, Greater Restoration, or Scrying.
what does Dream do? Do you guys have it there?
If I recall correctly, Dream lets you... Okay, thank you, Tim. I think it lets you basically get into like other people. It kind of lets you incept people, basically.
Cool. All right.
Magic weapons. The Couatl's weapon attacks are magical, so that's pretty handy. Just means that you can't use its own resistances against it. Shielded Mind. The Couatl is immune to scrying and to any effect that would sense its emotion, read its thoughts, or detect its location. That's interesting, and its immunity to psychic is interesting as well. I wonder, are the immunities to psychic damage and these shielded mind rules a reference to the fact that it initially was supposed to be both magically and psionically very talented? So because they've kind of pulled psionics out of the game, like psychic powers are much more peeled back. Obviously, they basically don't exist. So to represent the fact that it was supposed to have these powers, what if we said, oh, well, it's still got a very powerful mind, but now that's mostly a defensive ability? And also plays into this role it has as kind of a hidden protector of an area, or like sort of someone who lives in disguise, who doesn't reveal their true nature unless forced to, and things like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's a good way of doing it. Yeah.
So Dream is basically that the Couatl can project itself into someone's dreams, and they can either like give it some advice, or like guide it in a particular way, or threaten it away from something else. Like it says that the messenger you can make the messenger appear monstrous and terrifying to the target. If you do, the messenger can deliver a message of no more than 10 words. And like there are various kind of kind of constrictions to it to like reel it in essentially, but it can also deal damage it can
Okay.
cause like 3d6 psychic damage if you wanted to. But I think it's basically just a way for the Couatl to be able to contact the people that it has like either sent on a quest or the people that they want to like come to them, I think.
Yeah. Or to scare people away.
Or to scare people away, indeed.
Yeah. Or plant an idea.
Inception.
Yeah. Snake wasn't in Inception, Tim.
It was in my world.
That would be a good movie, though.
That was a great movie.
Yeah, it would. Okay, so then it's got some actions.
Yeah.
Tim, would you like to read these?
Sure. So it has a bite action, which is a melee weapon attack, +8 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 1 creature. On a hit, it's 8 or 1d6 + 5 piercing damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or be poisoned for 24 hours. Until this poison ends, the target is unconscious. Another creature can use an action to shake the target awake.
So that's basically the sleep spell with a very, very important modification. Do you boys know what that is?
You get bitten.
If you don't, it's fine. I'll touch back to it quickly, but there is an important difference.
Well,
Sorry, would you like to keep reading, Tim?
yeah,
I apologize.
Sure, yeah. Constrict, a melee weapon attack of +6 to hit and reach of 10 feet, 1 medium or smaller creature. On a hit, it is 10 or 2d6 + 3 bludgeoning damage, and the target is grappled. Escape DC is 15. Until this grapple ends, the target is restrained, and the Couatl can't constrict another target. Very good. Classic constrict.
So that's pretty good. Yeah, it's kind of a pretty pretty straightforward ability. Makes sense. It does exactly what you expect it to. They attack and then they grapple you, and then you're restrained, which is like being super grappled, but makes sense because the idea is that they've got their whole body around you, so you're obviously much more limited.
Handy that you don't deal damage to them as an effect of a lot of the other monsters that we've come across that can constrict you.
Oh, I see what you mean. As in, like, it doesn't keep dealing damage?
As in, when you deal damage to the Couatl, it doesn't also hurt your friend.
Oh, sorry. Yes, like the
cloaker and the rug of smothering.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh, good times.
Do you want to read the change shape?
Thank you very much. Change shape. Change places. The Couatl magically polymorphs into a humanoid or beast that has a challenge rating equal to or less than its own, or back to its true form. It reverts to its true form if it dies. Any equipment it is wearing or carrying is absorbed or borne by the new form, the Couatl's choice. In a new form, the Couatl retains its game statistics and ability to speak, but its AC, movement modes, strength, dexterity, and other actions are replaced by those of the new form, and it gains any statistics and capabilities, except for class features, legendary actions, and layer actions, that the new form has, but it lacks. If the new form has a bite attack, the Couatl can use its bite in that form.
Handy.
So that's kind of a little wordy, but basically boils down to like physically it starts to resemble the other thing, but it can use its own bite, and it keeps its own kind of innate abilities, and it also adopts the abilities of the next creature. So it's sort of it's almost a version of polymorph where you get like the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
You know, like but because you have to take their strength and dexterity and your AC is modified, it is a little worse. Because, for example, an obvious example is if the Couatl could keep its natural armor and then turn into a human and put on more armor, or even just use a shield, for example, that would be very powerful. But of course, if it were to change into a human, it would gain their AC basically.
That's
rather
cool.
than
It kind of gives it the handicap of not being able to like perfectly control its polymorph. It seems to say that you can turn into the humanoid, but it won't be able to like maintain its scales or its wings.
Yes,
like
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's almost like it's sort of like it becomes that creature physically, but it still gets to keep its own abilities.
Yes.
And of course, what's cool about that is that because we have clarified initially in its innate spellcasting, it only ever needs to use verbal components. So as long as it has a mouth, regardless of what form it takes, it can cast spells.
Indeed.
So the point about the bite that I want to just touch back on, because this is actually, I think, very important, and it would be more important based on like the Couatl's characteristics. But it says, As you read out, Tim, it deals a bit of damage. They take a Constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they are poisoned for 24 hours. And until the poison ends, the target is unconscious. And it says another creature can use an action to shake the target awake.
Mm-hmm.
So the sleep spell says another creature can use an action to shake the target awake, or whenever the creature is dealt damage.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
So obviously the sleep spell says, well, if you get knocked out and then someone hits you, you get to wake up for free, because otherwise you would be able to cast sleep on a group of indefinite size and then initially and just cut them all in half, which would obviously be not a very interesting fight for anyone.
I thought you meant you had to damage the caster to wake them up.
No.
that was my mishearing and misunderstanding.
Oh yeah, of course. Sorry.
So the Couatl can put you to sleep with this thing or put you unconscious and somehow still be able to attack you and you don't wake up. Is that kind of what it's saying?
So sorry, just to clarify, each creature affected by this spell falls unconscious until the spell ends. The sleeper takes damage, or someone uses an action to shake or slap the sleeper awake. So
that's the distinction. Okay.
So the distinction is the sleep spell says if the person subject to the spell ever takes damage, they immediately wake up, no saving throw, for free. So you basically get one free hit with the sleep spell.
Right.
Obviously, like, it's kind of caveated by the fact that you can have as much setup as you like for that free hit.
Yeah.
But importantly, the Couatl doesn't say that. So if you fail this saving throw, you are unconscious for 24 hours. The only thing in the game, according to the rules of the game, the only thing that wakes you up is someone spending an action to wake you up.
Yeah.
You don't get any more saving throws. It doesn't matter how much damage you take.
Yeah. I think that kind of lends itself to that like enforces the lawful good side, I think. Because
that's exactly my point.
You could just like have this bad creature just kill you, but he's a good boy, so...
But that's exactly my point.
Yeah.
You would never give this ability to a creature who did not have the lawful good alignment, which is a really, really interesting decision by the designers, because basically by writing this ability the way they've written it, they've basically said we expect that the Couatl, if your party ever fight the Couatl will not be interested in killing the party.
Yeah.
The Couatl has some kind of non-lethal intention. Because I actually think that this creature, as a level 4 enemy, would just eviscerate a party.
Yeah.
I even think as like if they were I even think like if it was like a Couatl and like 2 goons versus a level 4 party, I think they'd probably lose.
Yeah.
Like
that stat line it's like better than I think some of the other the angels who are like challenge rating 10 at least. Like it's more impressive than the Deva.
Core abilities that you might be might well be. But like for me, it's just about the fact that like there's so much stuff you could do. I mean, like I'm pretty sure based on the way this is worded that you could actually the Couatl could shapeshift into another creature with innate spellcasting and gain their spells as well, and so they would just have like a double spell list.
Sweet.
Do many other creatures like less than challenge rating 4 have a innate spellcasting? Because he says he has to be less than its form. Yeah. It's
a humanoid or beast. The shorter answer is I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we're only on C.
That's true.
But my long answer is I would not be surprised to find, well, here's an obvious one. If you just go back to the Y section, the UNT Pureblood is a challenge rating 1 humanoid who has innate spellcasting.
There we go, yeah.
And also has magic resistance, which the Couatl doesn't have, so they can just turn into this.
Even, like, it's 1 per day spells, like Dream is a 5th level illusion. So it's casting 5th level spells to a 4th level party. And like spell levels don't go up per level, you know, like
they go up per 2 levels, basically.
Exactly. It's like pretty hefty for that dude to have that at such a low level.
Yeah, I mean, like to me, what actually struck me in particular, and it depends a lot on the party you have, but importantly, they also have greater restoration. Which effectively
heals like anything.
Yeah, it's basically like the best, aside from like heal, which heals a lot of health, and like other really high level. It's basically like the one that you can do to restore anything to a body.
Yeah.
I think in the optional section on losing limbs, it says that Greater Restoration can restore any limb loss.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very powerful effect.
Pretty sure,
especially to give to.
I'm pretty sure it even
especially,
removes curses.
Yeah, it removes curses. It removes petrification. It removes everything. It removes like most like important magical effects. And if you don't need the big ones, it also has lesser restoration. So I feel like as an ally to a 4th level party, it's a little too powerful. Unless they have limited access to it.
Yeah.
Like if they can go back to the Couatl every second day and just be like, I lost my arm again. Captain, it happened again. You know, like I just feel like it's really interesting because this creature to me seems like probably like when you think about the fact that like, all right, it's fighting a 4th level party. That means that not very many of them will have magic weapons. That means that basically all of them are dealing half damage. So the Couatl has almost 200 hit points. It can deal about 8 damage a round on average, or 10 if it uses its constrict. It doesn't have any. It doesn't have any damaging spells, but it does have reaction spells like shield that it can use to make itself harder to hit. It could change shape into something more aggressive to deal more damage. So yeah, like
just by looking at the stat block, it feels like it's very obvious that they're trying to make him almost an ally monster. I can kind of, and even like as you said, the spells are all very like utility and helping spells. But a lot of these things, all these kind of almost defensive things, I feel like are all, I don't know, maybe it's just I don't think the designers were actually really thought about this, but they could have. But like let's say your players are like, oh, look at that monster, I don't care if he's good, I'm gonna try and beat him. It's like, all right, well, he has a bite that puts you unconscious, or he has a constrict that can tie you up, or he has shielded mind so your wizard can't get into its head and try and beat him. And he just seems to have a lot of like things that would combat unruly players, or players that at first might not want to ally with them and maybe shoot first, but they don't really get a chance to do that if he does all this stuff.
That's a good point.
And then when they're unconscious, he can go into their dreams and say, listen, now that I have you here, let me tell you about the true evil that is happening on this land. Something like that.
That's very cool. So it can bite you, and then it can use its dream spell to like calm you down and give you a proper explanation.
Yeah, well, he's got only one of those. So
yeah, but still.
But like kind of like a very like a last resort kind of thing.
Yeah,
cut my life into pieces.
Yeah, go on.
This is my last resort. Suffocation, no breathing. Don't give a fuck if I'm not breathing. I don't know.
I don't know that last line. But yeah,
not does anyone else. Don't worry.
If a party comes across this monster and the DM is like, oh, you try to hit him, you can't hit him. His AC is too high. Oh, you rolled a 20. Oh, he uses shield. Like it's like you made this guy so we couldn't kill him, didn't you? No. Here he is in the book.
It almost seems that way. Yeah, and actually, while we're talking here, guys, it seems like the waiters have brought us our dessert. So should we dig in?
Oh,
I ordered the sorbet.
I ordered the other sorbet, the one in the coconut.
I ordered fried carrion crawler.
All right, okay.
Man, come on.
It's a bit, guys. I'm making a bit.
Do the theme.
He's gonna keep saying until it gets on a T-shirt, I think.
Do the theme.
I'll do the theme. I'm just gonna,
Okay. Hi, welcome to Dessert Villa. This is where you eat dessert and we try to explain how to fight this thing. Spoiler alert, you lose, sir. Good day. By the way, I just checked. You want to know what's challenge rating 4 and pretty good at hitting things?
What?
A were-tiger.
A were-tiger?
So you turn into a were-tiger, you cut the party in half, and they're like, wait, we try to hit you. And you're like, no, I just heal myself, and then I shield your attacks. And then on my turn, I just hit you some more, and I got multi-attack now. So, yeah.
That's a good point.
The ultimate fight. Actually, I mean, that's a question then. Like, he's lawful good, right? We're going with the idea of, like, hopefully your players are heroic characters. Like, any good assumption you should make for your players. Why would you be fighting him? Let's well, how are we gonna bring up this? How are we gonna bring up this encounter?
Okay, well, I think, I mean, I suppose I think motivation-wise, like, that is almost like an impossible question to answer. Like, there are so many ways D&D games can go that...
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, I mean, like, for context, there was a game where myself and my friends were all playing a party of good adventurers, literally trying to save the world. But the thing we were trying to save the world from was a rogue god. And to kill it, we needed basically a god-killing weapon, which was sort of this sword that was made of God's anathema. It was made of a creature that came before the gods that, like, the gods fought and almost destroyed, and it almost destroyed them. And so this little piece of it is still so powerful it could be used as a sword to kill gods. And it was being guarded by an angel. Because obviously the gods don't want anyone to use it because it kills gods. So we traveled to this, like, very secluded location, and we tried to negotiate with the angel, and we couldn't, because the angel is law personified and was like, no, my orders are I'm going to keep the people away from the sword. If you want it, you have to go through me. So we're a party of entirely good aligned party members, and we killed an angel to get a sword to kill a god.
Now we're
Like,
all evil characters.
That's not how it works.
Yes, it is.
No, I was going to say that's a very fun little, like, clash of ideals, even though
It was
good characters. Yeah,
It was a great idea. That was friend of the podcast. I don't even know if he listens, but friend, full stop, Owen Byrne.
Yeah.
That was part of his campaign. So that was a cool fight overall, and also a very cool idea as an encounter.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, like, that's an example of how a party of people who are all interested in the good of the world can be brought into conflict with a creature who is seemingly lawful good.
Yeah. It's good to have the example, because it's just to give, like,
absolutely,
interest in the listeners' heads of, like, how would I do this? And then that's a really good example to give for for a little bit of inspiration for him. You know, that's kind of what I was looking for.
No, fair enough. Absolutely, I'm glad I can provide that. Yeah. So I think it's fair to say, like, there's a lot of reasons. I think one of the things that's great about specifically the lawful good or the lawful alignment is that it doesn't matter if you could have two characters who are lawful good who could vehemently disagree because they both have their own code.
Yeah.
And they could fight. Like, you could have two paladins of opposing orders who are both lawful good literally fight to the death for their ideas.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think, like, whenever anyone has the lawful alignment, you can use that as a way of saying, like, well, they really do believe in a specific set of rules, and if you use those rules to create conflict, then it doesn't necessarily matter that much that they're good or evil.
Essentially.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's cool. But
so the Couatl might have the rule that, like, no one can enter the realm of dreams, but if you want to beat the bad guy, you have to get into the realm of dreams. But if you want to get into the realm of dreams, you have to get to the dream portal, and the Couatl guards the dream portal, so he's not going to listen because he's a, outsider from a realm of law. He's going to obey the rules literally to his death.
Yeah.
Law boy.
Or someone's got him, his mind's under control. Maybe you can go with that interpretation of, I forgot which one it was, Tim, but you said some culture saw the Couatl as a baddie.
Couatl. It was I can't remember. It was when he was cool, something.
When he's Kukulkan, the Yucatec and the Lacandan Mayans both seem as evil.
Right. Yeah. Then he could honestly just be an evil guy. That can be another, there's lots of ways you can do it. So,
excuse me.
Yeah. Tim, do you have any ideas spark to your head before we go into the actual just fight? Of how you would fight him?
Well,
I
think that, like, one of the ways that I think I would get them to fight him is if their, like, first quest was brought to them by a bad guy, but they didn't realize he was a bad guy, and that he told them that this Couatl was guarding something that he needed to do good, but then they fight it or defeat it, or something happens, and, like, in the encounter where they fight it, I'm really mushing this up. Can I start again?
Yeah, sure.
So I think that the only way that not the only way, but the first way that comes to mind for me that a party would have to fight a Couatl would be if the mission that they were sent on initially was by, like, a guy who was bad, but that the party didn't know was bad. Like, maybe they send the party to kill the Couatl, and then it ends up that the thing that he was guarding was, like, stopping this chained god or something from escaping, which would then kind of roll on to even further story and, like, Like I like making stories kind of wrap back on themselves, like you guys with Dorizio and that. Like he gave you your first quest and helped you guys out, but then it ended up like biting you in the butt.
Ow, my butt.
Yeah.
Ow, my butt. And that would be a good little trick for like new players, I think. Ones that don't who wouldn't really say like, oh wait, that thing's actually supposed to be good, and then try and like save it. Maybe ones that are like, whatever, he's a monster, I'll defeat it, and then like if you really wanted to get them, then that's when you're like, he was actually the good guy all along. Shit.
And even if you have like a party that knows that Couatls are good, you could be like, oh, his mind is corrupted by the years or whatever, you know? Like,
yeah.
I think this is an unrelated point because we were supposed to talk about Couatls, but I think one thing I'll say about that kind of twist in general is you have to earn it.
yeah.
It's very easy to just go, oh, the bad guy was bad and good and ooh, but like unless you've seeded it somewhere, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. So like that's always something that I feel a little bit hesitant to do.
Okay.
That was even something I felt hesitant to do when I ran my campaign for you way back when. Initially, a lot of the characters you encountered were supposed to be a little less helpful and more hostile, but I basically thought like, I don't think you guys are paying enough attention, so I don't think you'd notice if they were kind of like subtle, and so I just decided not to bother. And that's something that I think in general, that like you make a lot of assumptions about like how much your party are paying attention to your acting when you say like, oh, I'm going to do a really good twist where the bad guy's a good guy. Yeah. If they're like, wait, Jeff was a bad guy? We didn't even know Jeff was a good guy. We didn't care about Jeff. Who the fuck is Jeff? And then someone else is like, wait, who's Jeff? I thought his name was Jorf. And you're like, his name was never Jorf. Like, what's wrong with you, Brian? Why would you think his name is Jorf? My point is, and also, sorry, it's worth remembering, like when you say something like, oh, well, you know, I can do a twist. It's like, the paladin at level 1 has an ability called Divine Sense that lets you detect like whether or not a creature is good or evil and what like dimension they're from and stuff. So like you should also play to the abilities of Dungeons and Dragons.
I was fortunate enough that none of you guys played as paladins.
But that's not how you should think.
Yeah, well, I would have come up with some way because I really wanted Dorizio to be a surprise.
Oh no, I don't mean with Dorizio. I don't think anyone would have suspected Dorizio because he was good, because he was perfectly helpful.
Yeah.
And it was only that like, and I think Tim, and a great example of you seeding it would be the items.
Yeah.
The items that we purchased that then turned out to be cursed. Yeah. Because we didn't even, because what I thought was clever was that we didn't even initially suspect they were magical. Because obviously if we thought they were magical, we'd get them checked out, and then you'd probably have to figure out a reason we couldn't find out they were cursed. Yeah. And we might have felt like that was unfair, especially if, say, one of the party members had used Identify on it. But because we got these seemingly mundane items, but they were actually cursed and part of his trap, when the items were revealed as evil, and he was therefore revealed as evil, there was this great, like, you know what I mean? Like, there was a payoff there that made sense, and like, if we had asked more, and like, well, certainly I felt, if we'd asked more questions, we could have very reasonably found out. Yeah. But we didn't. We took things for granted, and that's exactly how you use that twist. Yeah. You let the players' assumptions fool them. So everything has to be kind of implicit and subtle, and if you don't set that up properly, people just think like, I didn't even know Jorf was the bad guy, and you go, their name was never Jorf. Why do you keep saying Jorf?
Yeah, you got to do a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess. I've tried to do that kind of twist many times before, and I have felt it's like maybe I did foreshadow it, and maybe the players could have figured it out, but. Yeah. Other times, like, they're still players, and maybe they just want to play a game of D&D, and like they're like, I don't really care for all that foreshadowing shit. Just give me some fights, you know. Like,
it depends. It depends on so many different things. It depends on the kind of players you run for. It depends on the kind of campaign you're playing. It depends on the kind of characters they're playing. Because, like, I mean, a classic example in your game, DC, would be like when I played Kez. Yeah. And you kept sending the party on suicide missions, and like. Kez the Barbarian is not smart enough to figure out that these are suicide missions, especially because he keeps coming back alive.
Yeah.
so like he could never solve that mystery. I was like, obviously this character is sending us on suicide missions because he wants to get rid of us. But Kez would never say that until it became very obvious. Like, it'd have to be obvious enough for Kez to figure out for me to say it. Yeah. But like he would never, like, you know, as long as there was any kind of pretense, he probably wouldn't figure it out because he just tended to survive most fights.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway, so the fight with the Couatl itself. We'll go through this. Like,
Yes, we'll go back to...
You're in a blank room with this guy and your players against him. How do you think that fight will go?
I think unless the party are very well equipped, or there's a lot of them, I think the fight will go in the Couatl's favor a lot of the time. I think they just have a lot of abilities, a lot of resistances. They have benefits to saving throws. There's just a lot of reasons that the party won't be able to do a lot of damage. The paladin and the cleric will have their radiant damage reduced, so they won't be able to necessarily rely on their smites or abilities like that.
Yeah. I think one of its like serious, like, I'm looking at the couple of things and kind of putting them together. Like, its bite, once you are put asleep and then you're woken up again, there's no like clause where if you like, you can be put asleep again and again and again.
It can just bite you again the next round.
And also, it can bite you, put you to sleep, then constrict you, then fly 45 feet away because its movement is halved, and you'll still be more than a turn's worth away from your other friends. So he could just start.
And when it flies away, it could fly straight up and drop you.
Yeah, that as well.
And just let the gravity deal damage.
Yeah.
And then while it's in the air, it could cast heal on itself, or it could bless itself, or whatever.
Like, fly is a substantially like appreciated stat for bad guys. Like, if you want to have somebody who can just mess your guys up, give them the fly speed that is beyond what they can like reach within a reasonable amount of time.
There's a lot of like abilities and stuff that, as I said, kind of is almost there to like defend themselves against player characters. And it seems like any fight, like any party that's lower than like 4 or even lower, just can't really beat this guy. It seems like it would be a very I can't find a better way to say this, but it seems like it'd be a very cheap fight, you know?
Yeah. It would definitely be quite a slaughter.
Yeah. And he has, like, you know, just kind of always putting them unconscious, constriction. But maybe because if there's only one of them, it might be, you know, you can easily fight it. If you had like a four level 4 guys and you're fighting one Couatl, you know, let's say if he's restricting Grog the half-orc barbarian, you know, your druid man can like, druid attack. I forgot what druids do. Sorry.
You played a druid.
I did. Yeah. What do you throw trees at them? Yeah. He throws a tree at the Couatl while he's constricting.
4th level
Grog.
druid.
Yep. That's what a fourth.
That's their favorite ability.
Yeah. So I don't know. You can probably do it. But it still seems like it'll be a bit of a slaughter, though. That's the thing. He has a lot of abilities.
Honestly, yeah. Like a lot of abilities, a lot of resistances. I think especially if you play the Couatl as a creature with 18 intelligence and 20 wisdom, who goes, the first one I'll take out is the wizard, and then the wizard is just dead because it's like, I constrict you, you're grappled, there's no way you're breaking the strength check. While you're restrained because I've grappled you, I'm going to put you unconscious with the bite. That's probably also like most of your health because, let's be honest, you're a level 4 wizard. Yeah. So you're probably either dying or very close. So I'll do that to you, and then like I'll either finish you off or I'll just ignore you and go beat up the rest of the party while you're unconscious. And if any of them spend a turn trying to wake you up, maybe I'll get an opportunity attack with my bite and put them to sleep. And you know, if any of them try to hit me, and they actually land a hit, which at level 4 isn't likely against an AC of 19, I'll just use shield and block it. Or I won't bother because I have almost 200 hit points against a non-magical weapon, and I'm smart enough and I have the ability to detect magic, so I know if they're attacking me with a magic weapon.
You could probably never sneak up on him at all.
You can't sneak up on him. He has true sight.
True sight, yeah. Path perception 15.
You can't communicate in a language he doesn't understand if you want to use that kind of thing. He is like...
He's
like, to clarify,
party-proof at that level.
He's basically party-proof. Like, okay, the one character... So, like, basically the magical characters can do something against him. The one character, or maybe 2, who actually have magical weapons can hurt him. But the rest of the party just can't do anything. They can, like, try to grapple him, and then he just flies away, or he just counter-grapples with Constrict. Yeah. Like... This is a creature that is weird because so it's too powerful basically as a CR4 monster in my opinion.
Yeah.
It would basically take like a magic crew. Like you'd need a sorcerer and a warlock and a cleric and a wizard. Did I say wizard?
Yeah,
twice?
but then no one has any hit points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be able to. you'd be able to kill you in like one bite,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, like a wizard has like what, a D6 hit points, so they start with 6. Let's assume they don't have a con mod. So with another 3 levels, they've got another like what, 10 health, so they've got 16 health. So that's both. So if the Couatl attacks with the constrict and then the bite, they're probably dead or dying.
Yeah,
Like,
and this guy has 19 natural armor class. That's like pretty high AC. It'll be hard enough to actually hit him.
Yeah. I think a lot of the attacks that the magic casters use are like dex based or like avoidance, and he does have like practically maximum dex, but I think like with all 4 of them, and then their cleric could use like sanctuary or blessing and give them advantages. So I think it could be a bit of a slog if you were just all of the magic classes going all out against this Couatl. But yeah, I think the Couatl would still probably take it at the end, even if you like min-maxed all your characters and like were going hard, like you knew what you were getting into. Like this is probably, you're still probably going to lose this at level 4.
Yeah, and also all of our assumptions are saying that the Couatl is both like has not got the advantage of surprise, which they probably could because they've got a dex of +5, which means that if they try to use stealth, they'll get +5 without the skill training, and they'll be able to detect the players coming because they have a lot of abilities that let them do that. But also they can change shape into anything that makes them better at hiding, and also if they just like purchase gear ahead of time, they can use that.
Yeah.
Like if they have purchased, I mean, like if they've got like, say, like basic armor like chainmail and a shield and a sword, and then they transform into like a were-tiger who's fully equipped, then like you've got a lot, like that's a problem.
Yeah.
like because I think its biggest weakness in this form is that it maybe doesn't do as much damage as it could. But if it just shapeshifts into any creature that can like, multi-attack, then it's just like, okay, I can still cast the shield spell 3 times a day, and now I can multi-attack. And I can heal myself, and I can restore anything that you do to me. I can remove anything.
And that would be a hog wild fight against a were-tiger. It's like all those abilities. Like
Yeah, it would be, yeah. And if you try to have any resistances, it has magic weapons, so all of its attacks count as magical.
Yeah.
So I think so. Like, what strikes me about the Couatl is, from the point of view of literally just the party fighting in an empty room, I think they lose. But also, what kind of frustrates me is they're too powerful as an enemy, and then as a result, they're kind of too powerful as an ally.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're mentioning that like Greater Restoration is kind
for a
of
level 4 party.
For a level 4 party is like, it's kind of, it might ruin, like, like as you said, my arm's gone. Like, all right, I'll bring it back, I guess. Like,
I'll just reattach it
because
like,
I'm a nice.
something I can do.
I'm a nice guy.
With something I can do once a day for literally no consequence. It's just a verbal component.
Yeah.
I just have to say the word and
he's got scrying. He's got dream, and he's got a lot of things that he can do there. And if he is helping you fight, if he's in a fight and he's an ally, then he would kill really anyone who's up against with you in that point. Like,
yeah, I think if you can, so I think the way you use a Couatl is an ally to the party who is shapeshifted to appear less powerful, which is both lore-wise what they're supposed to do, but is basically your excuse for why they're not helping more. Right. Which actually bothers me, because it makes me feel like the lore only exists for you to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, my biggest criticism of the Couatl as a creature is that it doesn't appear to have any major weaknesses.
Yeah.
And like, if it did have those weaknesses, you'd be like, well, this is the reason it needs party members. This is the reason it needs to rely on other people. But it doesn't really need to. I mean, aside from like higher CR monsters, which is like the same as anything. Like, yeah, it'll lose a fight to an Aboleth, but like, so would a level 4 party. Like, that's nothing. That's like, like a higher level wins. That's how the game works.
Yeah.
So like, I just feel like it's weird. They are like too good at what they do, and they lack an important weakness, while also being low enough challenge that they're supposed to be around at a stage where that sort of thing exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the Couatl, I he's very cool, and I like kind of all the why we've been
Yes.
talking about him.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
and I really like him. I think he'd be super cool to put into a game. But a lot of these stat boxes, stat block, stat box. I put them both
Bloxes.
together. A lot of these stat boxes, are they boxes? Are they blocks?
Fucking please finish your point.
Okay, a lot of these stats seem to have there's like a little puzzle in there where it's like, let's say with the basilisk, you know, he can do the petrification, but you could petrify him yourself. Or
Yeah.
but this guy, it seems like here's a bunch of really powerful abilities, and just
Yeah,
he
literally
threw
just
a bunch
all
of-
bolted onto a snake body.
Yeah, exactly.
Like for context, you know what else is challenge 4?
What?
The Banshee back from way back when.
Right. Okay.
Even the Chol
the
more
Banshee?
recently.
Yeah, the Chill more recently. The Banshee, for comparison, has the same. In fact, has worse resistances and immunities than the Couatl, and also has half its health. Like,
Yeah.
literally can take way more damage. Like you know, the Couatl is literally immune to non-magical weapons. Comparatively, the Banshee is merely resistant, but still only has 58 health in comparison to the Couatl's 97.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like
He's meant to be a strong ally. Like it's just that stuff is meant to protect him. Like that's what I think.
but
you know?
yeah, but it's just like yeah, sure, and he can. And my problem is that he's too good at it. He can do it on his. They can do it on their own. They don't
I get
need
that. Yeah.
you know what I mean? I know we're all in agreement, but like the Couatl is someone who's like.
That's all right. I just
Couatl
picture
is-
it's like just like fuck you.
Fuck you, we're all
This
right.
stupid snake thing is important to me.
Yeah.
No, like this this creature is like too powerful and capable on its own to need the party's help.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
exactly,
it asks
yeah.
for the party's help because it's divine caretaker. Like it's waiting essentially. It is a waiting creature. If it needs them to like run an errand, like get it a McDonald's or something, it'll ask them to do that because it doesn't want to go anywhere. If it has its
Yeah.
purpose.
What if
Yeah,
he-
yeah.
What if he's a messenger of a god?
Well, that's
Actually.
what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think we actually got a mail about that a while back from a listener.
oh yeah.
Do you want me to check?
A little while back, maybe an older one, but we were talking about angels at the time, and I don't have your name. Very sorry about this. Maybe Daniel will find it, but they're like, if you want a lower level messenger of a god, try using a something or Couatl. So, sir, sorry if I forget your name, but it should be somewhere there.
Yeah, I
but-
think they'd be like for them to be the messengers, like better than the divas would be, the devas, who are challenge rating 10. Like they're a kind of a softer but also still quite hardy introduction to the celestial realm. Like they can
Right.
like they could probably incept your dream and then like show you part of the celestial like plane and like introduce you to a couple of the ideas without like appearing completely overwhelming like a devil would be, because they can just turn into a humanoid thing and then just join you on your journey for a little bit and give you little hints and nudges in particular directions if they don't
Yeah.
want to stay still.
And with that being said, I guess it's been a while since we've done it, so I don't remember too much what we said. But maybe listen to our Deva episodes if you haven't already,
yeah.
because it might be a bit of cross pond. We might have said similar things to this, and you could have probably throw some of the stuff
Yeah.
from that into
Angels.
the Couatl.
That was our,
You know.
I think our like third and fourth episodes, because we did, we
Yeah,
did
it was
two.
a pretty long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was forever.
It's almost a year now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah. Cool. All right. So what else we got about this guy? We're kind of running out in time, guys.
Yeah.
So do we have any final bits about the Couatl that we want to talk about?
I like his colors. He's got some really pretty colors. Like I think he is actually just one of the most colorful characters. Like he has a lot of lore to him that you could throw at your players if they were a party that was interested in that kind of stuff. You know, like if the party wanted to research them in game, like you could present them with quite a bit of cool stuff. Like you don't have to come up with the lore. Like it's already laid out in front of you if you dig a little bit. Like you can choose one of the Mesoamerican societies and then use them as that. Probably not one of the
Yeah.
evil ones, but you know, even if you want,
Well, you could make him evil if you want, if you
Yeah.
really want to fight it. But you know, as we said, it seems very strong. But,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, you can kind of use it in whatever way you want. It's very broad in that.
Yeah.
But yeah, having him as this kind of divine, I would use him as some like angel like figure. Really,
Yeah.
That's what I like. That's my image of him.
I think
you know?
I think a lot of people will automatically mistrust him as well because he's serpentine, or it's
Yeah.
serpentine, which is you know
Or-
just classically bad boy.
Serpentine.
Yeah, or like like a legendary Pokemon-esque creature.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that are just kind of fly around and do their thing, but
Mm-hmm.
they're mystical, and you want to hang out with them, but they're like, nah, man, nah. But
No, I
if
told
you're
you what
cool
you
enough,
need
get
to
hang
know.
out. Yeah, but they're just a thing. Maybe there's like one Couatl that hangs around the world, and there are people are like, that there goes him,
Yeah.
the Couatl.
It's like
and
Ho-Oh.
you're like,
He just flies around.
yeah, and then maybe he, you know, might help you out. Maybe he won't. I don't know. But just kind of something like that. And I like that idea too.
yeah.
Sorry, I was in silence there because I was trying to find that comment we did receive from a listener at some stage, but it's gone. It's just
Oh
gone.
no.
Very sorry about we don't have your name. But
If I recall correctly, the idea they talked about was I think that either they used Couatls as messengers instead of Devas, because I think we said that the Deva was kind of a high Seor. Like I think there comes the thunderstorm rain. Can you hear it?
We're expecting
sorry.
rain.
Yes, it's coming. It's here now. We haven't had rain in like 3 weeks, and
Yeah.
it's literally a thunderstorm, and we're gonna get all the rain at once. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be 7.2 millimeters of rain.
Jesus.
Exciting.
it's been
So,
like
yeah.
the country's been dying, so like
Yeah,
it's,
it's been drying out. Now it's gonna flood. End times, baby. Let's do it.
yeah. Global
but, yeah.
warming.
Whoa. It's me, Al Gore. I'm here to warn you.
Oh no.
I've hijacked this podcast. Oh God, he's here. He's in the airwaves. He created the internet. Now he's too powerful. No, sorry. They said that they were using. I think they were suggesting using Couatls as messengers as an alternative to Devas, because Devas are like CR7 and the Couatls a lot lower CR. And I think they might have also mentioned that they played a campaign where they played a Couatl. They used one as a character.
Right.
And on that note, friend of real life, who I think still doesn't listen to the podcast because he's a bad friend, Shane Farrell, in my previous
friend,
campaign
man.
with him. Yeah, bad friend. Bad professional bad friend Shane Farrell, great
Sorry,
person,
Shane.
bad friend. No, you're not, Shane. You're one of my best friends. I don't mean any of that. They did a cool thing where their previous character, their familiar, was a Couatl,
Right.
which was kind of an interesting thing because it was sort of this character who initially started as kind of like ancillary to his main character, but then grew more important as kind of like their bond improved, but also like this Couatl kind of gained their own identity and became a full member of the party, and like was able to sort of speak with the rest of the group, and was kind of tied to this other world and had this kind of connection with it, and could like recall lore about the world that we would have no idea about and things like that. So that was pretty cool. And so there is something you could do there where the Couatl could become tied to the party, and in that context, we ended up being pretty high level. That was in Pathfinder, though, and Couatls are higher level in Pathfinder. But if, for example, you had a party of people who were, say, I don't know, 11th level, and you got the Couatl and maybe just pared down its spell list a bit, just made it a little more limited, but gave one to a wizard or a cleric as a familiar, that could be really cool. Could be very unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe drop some of the healing spells like Greater Restoration, and like maybe some of the maybe just Greater Restoration, but keep the rest of them. And like so, they might use the Couatl more for the Dream spell or for scrying. So it's kind of a knowledge source, which would be kind of handy.
Yeah.
Without it being so like powerful that it can heal any ailment instantly, and therefore a lot of fights lose their edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, on the thoughts of kind of changing around spells, if you were to make like a baddie Couatl, if you wanted to do that, probably change around the spells, because all those restoration spells tend to be kind of more on the good domains
Yeah.
of like, let's say the clerics would probably have that, like good clerics. Maybe give them like some sort of like maybe even like necromancy or even just like some attack spells that like a witch bolt or like a fire bolt or something.
Inflict wounds.
Yeah.
That's a classic conversion.
Yeah,
from
Inflict
cure
wounds.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, the inflict wounds from cure wounds would be an obvious thing, and then you could do things like, instead of greater restoration, you could have bestow curse.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be kind of thematically similar, and also it would let you kind of play the Couatl as maybe like sort of a slightly ill-intentioned trickster who goes around putting curses on villages and stuff like that.
Yeah, and give them like
which would be a great hook for your party to stop them.
yeah, and like trick domain spells.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Good thinking.
Or was that the name of the domain? Trick?
Yeah, trickery. Yeah.
Yeah, trickery. Yeah. Yeah. Just pick a domain and it's like this kind of Couatl.
Yeah.
A war Couatl or a
Ooh.
life Couatl. Well, this is like life Couatl. So
Yeah, that's
Or
a
a
cool
nature
idea,
Couatl.
actually, DC. I like that.
yeah, look at the
yeah.
spells.
Nice.
Yeah, I think in general, if you're going to use the Couatl, maybe you think about paring down its abilities slightly. Seriously, it has immunity to non-magical weapons.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
If it walks into
yeah.
a village, it could just
Immunity.
punch. It could just like it could transform into like a villager and walk into a village and just punch every other villager to death. It could just keep doing that.
Or it could just go into the city and just sit on someone forever.
Yeah, Tim. Yeah,
That's
I
where my
would-
mind goes.
I don't know how much it would change the fight, but I might make that like resistance to non-magical. Would that change it too
I mean,
much?
that's-
Or
no, that's like normal. Resistance to non-magical weapons is like normal for like outsiders, but this is immunity, which is like, I mean, I'm gonna just for context check something.
Right. Here we
so
go. Daniel's
if-
checking
if-
something.
So if I just go to say here,
Okay. Where are you going, Daniel? Where are you going with this?
hey
Daniel
guys,
is- yeah,
hey guys, you know the Balor?
yeah, the Balor, yeah,
You know the huge demon with a lightning sword and a fire whip, and its
Yeah, yeah.
challenge rating 19.
yeah.
It has resistance to non-magical attacks.
Okay, yeah.
So
That's yeah.
hey guys, you know the Garistro? It's a challenge rating 17 demon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
has resistance to non-magical attacks.
Right. Okay.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
you know the
All right,
the
Daniel, all right.
Marilith? It's the challenge 16 demon. It has resistance. Do you see where I'm going?
See where I'm going with this?
Let's see ghosts. Let's have a look at a ghost here.
I'm gonna look up goat.
No, not a
Yeah,
ghost.
you look. No, Tim's gonna
I'm gonna
look
look
up goat. This is
I
important.
think we have a giant goat in here.
Wait.
Okay, Tim's looking up goat. You're looking up ghosts.
Ghost. Where's G? Where's
All right,
G?
goat.
Giants.
No resistances or immunities, and it's CR0. So, I mean,
Well, there you go. That tells you all you need to know.
That's not fair.
Thanks, Tim.
anytime. Sorry, I've been sniffly all podcast, guys. I've been doing my best not to sniffle. I've been a little coldy,
That's all
or
right, man.
maybe
You're
it's
sick.
been hay fever. It's hard to tell these days.
Well, the rain will help with that.
Well, it might not. Apparently,
man.
it gets worse in autumn sometimes because all the rain knocks the dry
Kicks it
leaf
into the
layer.
air,
and
yeah.
kicks it into the air.
Hey, guys! You know a ghost?
Yeah.
Something that you shouldn't even be able to touch.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
has resistance to
Yeah.
non-magical
Really?
weapons.
Oh my god.
Resistance. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Hey guys, you know ancient black dragons?
Yeah.
They
I've
don't
heard
even
of-
have
I've heard of
resistance.
him.
They don't even have resistance to non-magical weapons.
Wow.
Oh,
Literally just take normal damage from non-magical weapons. So what I'm saying
Stop.
is
Quit it.
wa-
You're hitting
Ow.
me with your.
it's literally the bit from Skyrim where a dragon lands in town and the villagers gang up on it and punch it to death. It's literally that bit, but in D&D, and it takes a little longer.
No, the fell do.
So my point is that it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, that's stupid. That is.
You know the
Um,
other
actually is.
more powerful celestials, the Deva, Planetar, and Solar.
Oh yeah, the one
Resistance.
literally the Solar. There are only 24 in the entire multiverse because they're so powerful.
Yep.
Oh, resistance. I
Downward
see. Okay,
resistance.
cool. So I don't know if they like mistyped this stat block or something.
I don't know if there are any that have condition immunities. To...
There are. Sorry, the Demilich
Oh.
has immunity to non-magical damage,
Well,
but that is a
that-
challenge rating 18 monster.
I get that.
with legendary actions.
Yeah, I get that. If a demi lich, like
Most of a lich. Yeah.
That's
So yeah,
Insanity.
basically, fuck this guy.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we're getting to
Well
that point
put.
of the
Very
time,
well
guys. Yeah. So Couatl, cool concept. Very interesting kind of bit of history to him.
Yeah.
And he great designed and would be cool to put into your game. But just that stat block, man, I just don't know what to say about it. It's
like, honestly, like, I think if you got, so you see the way there's the bit where it goes challenge rating 4, and then there's a line, and then it goes innate spell casting, and above that point is all its really high stat abilities, and it's all its saving throws and its resistances and its immunities.
yeah.
I think if you just cut that bit off the stat block and
Right.
just send it off into space, into
Yeah.
the sun maybe, where it can do some good, and just took like everything below that, because everything below that's fine, and then if you just got the Couatl's like normal stat block and just replaced it with anything else,
Yeah.
just
Get that,
anything else,
Get that cockatrice one on the page before, and put that there.
Yeah, just use one of them.
Yeah, just put that there.
I was actually going to say a really good example would be like the Cloaker.
Yeah.
Just a few pages before.
Yeah.
You could swap around its stats a bit so that it's a little smarter. I think you can keep its high intelligence because I don't think that does anything, so that's fine. But I think fundamentally you drop strength, dex, and con. You drop its immunity to non-magical attacks.
I get the immunity to psychic though. I get that.
Yeah, that's fine, but that's
Yeah.
fine. Like
Yeah.
that's like
Who the hell
I don't think
uses
anyone
psychic
minds.
anyway?
Like legit question: what is the source of psychic damage? Like, okay, here we
true.
go. Here's the list: vicious mockery.
Yeah, I was gonna say viscous mockery.
Okay, anything else on the list?
Not
Okay,
that
great.
I can
Good
just
job
picture
there.
the bard
Good-
like
Good fucking hustle, everyone. You know. Like,
this vicious mockery. All right, that's all I got.
There you go.
like vicious mockery is even like it doesn't even do that much damage. It's more useful as a stat debuff because it gives you disadvantage on the next attack roll.
Yeah.
like that's its main use. Its main use is that it makes it harder for it to hit your allies, and the damage is d4s. It's literally the lowest dice you can have without it being just 1 damage.
Yeah.
like yeah, like that's it. Doesn't like yeah, fine. You can keep your fucking psychic immunity. Like, you know, like it's just.
It's ridiculous.
And why does it have double the health of other? Like, why does it just have 97
It
health?
has
Like,
only
what?
a tiny bit more than the Chul, I noticed. I flick back to the Chul, and the Chul has 93, I think, to compare to that. But, like, the Chul
Yeah,
is
but the
meant
Chul will
to be
take
just a
full
tank.
damage from every. The Chul will take full damage from every attack. The
Yeah.
Couatl will take no damage from most of your attacks.
Yeah.
Madness.
Damn.
So yeah, basically the Couatl is a cool idea that is marred by the fact that the stat block is fundamentally actually too powerful, which is sort of an unusual problem for it to have. And obviously, you know, I think we've said before, like we're not really a group who, like, at least myself personally, I don't really believe in things being overpowered. I think if you give a party member good abilities and then they're powerful, that just lets you make all the monsters tougher.
Yeah.
And if a monster is too tough, that just means you get to give the party a cool ally or a special ability. But this creature is so powerful they are boring. They don't have any weaknesses. They have literally immunities that are not like they literally have an immunity that creatures triple their CR do not have.
Yeah.
Like that's just really strange. Like their whole design is so weird. They have loads of health for seemingly no reason. I can understand why they have a good dex. I don't understand why they have a good strength or really a good constitution. I think their good mental stats make sense because they're supposed to be like these divine messengers. So like the Deva, like the Solar and the Planetar, they're kind of like otherworldly beauties who have like this, you know, divine intellect, this divine insight into the world. That's all fine. They have access to like 5th level magic despite being a CR4 monster.
Bizarre.
And like, yeah, it's just, they just like...
They're a bit much, is what we're saying, essentially.
It's just like, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot for very little. So, yeah, honestly, like, this is interesting because I'm going to say, as of this moment, the Couatl is the worst stat block we have run into in the entire book.
Ooh. Cutting.
And so
I wish I had like a
this is-
soundboard or like a button to press, like
like this is like the Couatl is now my 0. Is what I'm saying. So like when we run into other monsters, this is my 0 point. And it's a 0 because it's just fundamentally like, okay, it's not a 0. It's more like a 1 or a 2 realistically because I like its change shape ability. I think that's fun. Sure. And yep. No, actually, I like its shielded mind. I think that I think the shielded mind and the change shape abilities would be very interesting on like a more interesting monster who has more reason to like fight the party like I think the idea of getting the bad guy and giving them shielded mind and change shape would be really cool.
Yeah.
The idea that like this person who's like able to like take a million faces and they're always tracking you and hunting you, and you can't scry them and you can't find them, you can't read their mind, you never know why they're doing what they're doing. Like that's actually really cool. But I think that the Couatl literally does none of that. Like
it's not interesting enough to deserve its
stats. Basically
it's cool.
You could take it
real world, super awesome, but like
I loved studying it in the real world because it was overwhelming and fascinating and helped me learn more about another culture which I am like very uneducated on because
same.
you know there's a lot of culture to learn about. But like strictly as a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons monster, not even other editions, strictly as a 5th edition monster, I don't like the Couatl.
a bit dumb.
It's just I don't understand. I suppose my criticism is I don't think that it does a particularly interesting job as an ally. I think it's too powerful and it doesn't have any major downsides. It doesn't seem to ask for much. So like if it was this powerful but you needed to, I don't know, give it your soul or sell it a child or something important that you'd be like, wow, we're making a big sacrifice to work with this thing, like, I don't know, a devil. That would be interesting, but it's not. It's just like, oh, I'll just do all these good things for you because I'm good, and it's just like benevolent and very boring.
Will you be my friend now?
I'm just, yeah, sure. Here, have $17 and a Nissan sweatshirt. Like, it's just like you know, like there's no stakes. It's just giving you stuff for free because it's bored out of its mind. So I just feel like it's just not. It's just like I suppose I would say like I can't find the designer's intent.
Yeah, it's a
I
very
feel like,
confusing
you know what I mean?
block. It's just I don't really see, as you said, I don't see what the designers were doing with this block. You know, it's just kind of weird.
And I think we're kind of wrapping ourselves into knots trying to make sense of it.
Yeah,
like
that's
I
very
think
much
we
it.
should
We're
just
kind of being,
wrap it up with a nice little bow around about now.
If you have any opinions on the Couatl stat block, and if you kind of disagree with us, if you think you made it work somehow, could you please message us on, contact us on an email, put it on the comment if you want it on, if you want everyone else on the site to know. Just let us know what you guys have done with Couatls if you have used it before. We would love to know, because personally, I don't know what to do with them. You know, in terms of a fight. You know, that's it. Just with the block, I just don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just have them be like a statue that tells you what they're going to be doing. Like it's the only proper use of them, I think.
And like you could do anything that we talked about, what we're going to do with the Couatl, and just have it like a guy called, you know, Brian, who says, "Hi, I'm Messenger of a God. Do that for me." It's like, "All right, Brian, no problem," and then you go off. You don't have to make him a flying snake.
So yeah. Let us know, contact us, and share us with your friends, and leave us a review on iTunes. And Daniel's much better at this than I am, but I'm doing my best.
You were doing fine, I thought.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening. It's been a trip. We've had a couple of weeks to research this, and like my research was exclusively into the history, and like I came into this really excited.
Although mine was at the D&D side.
Yeah. And like I think we all just got slapped in the face by this bizarre stat block. So, you know.
Yeah, here's the thing, like I still had fun doing this as always, but like I think I've learned, see, it's very easy to, and like I don't want to be that kind of person. It's very easy to be like just negative because it's slightly funny and will get you attention on the internet. Yeah. But like what I want to do is I want to look at this stat block and I'm like, I don't like it. I don't see the designer's intent. I don't know what they wanted from this stat block. But what's cool is I can look at this and go, I don't like it, and I can go, okay, well, hang on, like, why don't I like it? And I go, oh, well, because it's immune to non-magical damage, and it has lots of health for no reason. It doesn't appear to have weaknesses. But I can take all that information and go, well, that's what I like in monsters, you know? Now I know what I want. I know I want monsters who are iconic in one direction and have these like very powerful and distinct abilities, but who maybe have weaknesses of their own. Like a great example, just to take a high level monster we've already covered, is the Beholder, because the Beholder has a very powerful ability called their anti-magic cone, which is their big eye shuts down magic, but all their beam attacks from their other eyes are magical. So if they're using their big eye, they can't use their little eyes. That's a simple example of, oh, whoops, my abilities contradict themselves slightly, so now I have to make a decision during combat. And like I like that. I like the fact that like it means like, oh, I can use the big eye to shut down the wizard and the little eyes to shoot at the fighter or whatever. Or maybe this turn I decide, no, the wizard's going to get blasted with a necro beam or whatever. Like, I know that's cool. And like it lets the party go, oh shit, he's closing his eye. What's he going to do? You know, like there's moments in there. Whereas this thing is just like, I just ignore you during combat and then I bite you to death. Like it's just fucking.
I think it's
Christ,
it's like conversely informative. I think is the way that I can, the only like way that I can say it. In as much as like it shows you the things that will kind of work against
in mathematical
what
terms.
you want.
It's proof by negation.
Yeah. There you go.
It's I don't like these things, therefore I do like these things.
Yeah, I like the opposite.
I just don't see it being a fun fight at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
it
I
will just
agree.
be you getting your ass handed to you. And like, what was the point of that? It was just a monster that beat us, you know. And
Yeah,
he's
and-
good. He's not like an evil guy who's like, I'm trying to kill you, and then at least your players be like, shit, he's trying to kill us. It's just like he's a good guy who defeats you, and then he's like, you're alive now. Like, great. What was that all about then? What the fuck was that?
What the fuck, man?
What the fuck, man? Why'd you beat us up?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just
We're getting back into the cycle that this Couatl is brainwashing us to continue talking about him while we're trying to wrap up.
But throwing him into your world as like putting some lore about him in there somehow. Maybe not even as like don't picture yourself actually going to fight him, but just having him somewhere in the world making an impact might be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's my.
I think one of the things is
that's
that,
what I've kind of thought about it.
Yeah,
so.
they're like keepers of information as well. I'm pretty sure it says in the paragraph. I've put my book away, so like they could just be a fount of knowledge. Like they could be looking over like an academic college town essentially. Like they could be the head or like the headmaster. You know?
Yeah.
That could be a kind of cool way to chuck them in there.
Maybe the leader of that town could be like this, a Couatl in disguise, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We've been talking about this for a long time, guys, so let's actually just wrap it up now.
Sure.
Guys, thank you. We're going to say one more time, thank you so much for listening to Creature Club. If you want more episodes, please subscribe on whatever way you listen to us.
Yeah, you can find us. We've got an RSS feed. It's on the website, which is creatureclubpodcast.com. We are on iTunes. You can find us. Just look up Creature Club. We have a Gmail or a Gmail or whatever you prefer, which is creatureclubpodcast@gmail.com. There's a contact us page on the website where you can submit comments there, or you can submit comments under the episodes. We'll get notifications about those. We always love reading your comments because it's nice to know that people actually listen and care about what we're talking about.
Yes.
As a small note, just something for fun, myself and the boys did a wee photo shoot. It's not really a photo shoot. We were just out drinking and we took a photo. We had a friend of the podcast, Jenny, take a picture of us, and now that's on the About page. So if you ever wondered what terrible, terrible faces we're recording this, now you know. Yeah. It's a really good picture. I actually really like it.
I really like it too. I think I got to make it my Facebook one, but it's also huge on the thing, so maybe make it
it's like really lengthwise. No, it needs to be that big. You need to know.
Yeah, you need to know. I'm drinking my of course, like Irishman drinking a pint of Schmiddix outside in Dublin City.
Yeah. Outside in the dark when it's already cold. Fuck's sake.
Yeah,
like shower of wankers.
Yeah.
No, it's actually a really nice picture. I'm really glad we got one.
So we'll go from top to bottom in the image. So I've been Tim.
I've been Dan.
I have been Mikey. Stay cool.